and welcome to That's Girl Speaks. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, and this is an episode that I don't know, but it's like 250 something. Oh my gosh, Howie, how are you? I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram, which I've not really been on much lately. I've kind of been in my hidey hole and I'm kind of okay with it. I'm not gonna fib. How are you doing? Having my Christmas tea. Do you get a Christmas tea? I did get a Christmas tea this year. One year I got this thing from, is it called Tivana? Is not the right thing. I think that's a thing, but I don't think that's the thing that I think it is. I got this like Florida orange one and it was so delicious. I used it like in addition to my regular like black tea because quite frankly I'm a coffee drinker, so when I drink tea it must be burly or I'm kind of just like, what's happening? But it was like pieces of orange and it was very citrusy. Tealyra, so it's Tealyra, and it was called Florida orange juice. And for some reason I didn't get it this year. I tried something different, but that is delicious too. I feel like maybe next year I'm gonna go back to that one because I think it's my favorite. It's a treat. It's like $13 or $14 for just like a little packet, but you can stretch it because you can just add it to black tea. But it's delicious. If you like citrusy, it's like citrusy. Although I did read reviews that said that it wasn't as good this year, so I was like, maybe I just got a really good year. I mean, I love you natural products, but sometimes it's just hard to tell what's going on with you. So anyway, enough about my tea. This is a knitting episode. It's not a knitting episode, it's a knitting podcast. So I think today's episode will have some shenanigans of the home. Quite frankly, I have not left all that much. Actually, I've left a ton, which we'll talk about at the end of the episode, in which I will recap you on what's going on with my body, the vessel in which I inhabit. But I'll put it at the end, so if you're like, dude, don't care, I'll put it at the end. I never am good at juggling like too much information because, okay, so here's a secret that's not at all secret. I went to nursing school for like a year before I decided that my anxiety was not a good match for the nursing profession because I would just be constantly consumed with worry and self-doubt, and that would not be good for anybody. But that is all to say that I have like that gross mentality that like most nurses do where I'm like, ew. Like I don't like to watch gory shows or anything. And I don't like to, like, I'm not like I'm watching surgeries in my spare time. Like, I'm not quite to that point, but I am secretly like, ew, how gross was it? So I try to like be careful because I know some of you were like, ah. So I'll put that at the end, but it won't be, I mean, it's not gonna be gross, but you know, I'm just trying to tell you that like, I don't sometimes understand because I'm talking to a lot of you. And so I can't be like, oh shoot, Susan's face is about to melt off of her head. I need to stop talking about this. So without that like feedback of what's going on, you have to be control the feedback. So if your face is about to melt off, actually like 40 degrees before that, just turn the show off. It's not gonna melt off, but you know what I mean? I don't know, maybe it will. Maybe like I had a hangnail and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't know. So, but I'll put it at the end either way. So I won't put anything interesting after it. So if you have to turn it off, Susan, just do it. Just take it, just turn it off. Oh my gosh. Okay, but then there will also be knitting. As in every other episode, the knitting is kind of like an afterthought. Not really, I think a lot about knitting. Even though yesterday I did not knit one stitch and I had ample time to do so. But let's face it, the dogs were all laying on me and I was covered up and it was very cold and I just didn't, quite frankly, just didn't. Okay. Shenanigans. So there are crafty shenanigans. So in non-knitting related things, non-wool things, Harrisville Designs, I made pot holder. You already know that. Harrisville Designs makes, they make 2 sizes. They make a standard, which I believe is 7 inches, and then they make the Pro, which is 10 inches. And it's nice and metally. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. Can you tell? The teeth are kind of slightly this way, which helps keep the little doodads on there, the little and they're cotton loops, not the nylon ones, like every craft kit you had when you were a kid. They're cotton, so they stay on there really well. As I made a pot holder. A few years ago, a friend and I believe yarn hoarder, but now I say that wrong. Went in and we shared a set of Christmas ones. And so this year when I pulled out my one Christmas one that I actually got done, I was like, oh, I totally have more loops in there that I've been just not using because they were Christmassy. And I also don't weave pot holders every day. But they are so useful and so sturdy. I just love them. So I made another one up. And you can find information if you go to harrisville.com. You can buy them through there. I believe at the top of the screen they have a little like light blue icon that says like friendly loom or something like that. Now that I've said that, that sounds silly. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. See, it says friendly loom at the top. And if you click on that, it'll take you to all of the loomy stuff, right? And they have like different, like a program where you can like program in what kind of pattern you want. It's super fancy, y'all. Super fancy. Speaking of fancy, oh my gosh, I got a haircut. You can't tell because see, does it look slightly less shaggy than it normally does? Of course it does. I mean, it does need a wash right now, but see, it looks less shaggy. This is the reason I got a haircut. My daughter was scheduled to have a haircut because her hairstylist is in high demand and we had to like book her appointments out like 2 in advance. I'm telling you ladies. Why am I saying ladies? I'm telling you people, if you have children and they're wondering what career to do, if they think they would all be suited to hairstyling, haircutting, what do we even call it now? I feel like such an old woman. If they feel like they'd like to be a beautician, that is the way to go, y'all. Make your own hours. She worked out of like she did not own the studio she worked on, but it was just like 3 chairs and they all just like, you know, rented their chair so she could make her own hours. They don't have to have a receptionist because the internet's awesome. I mean, it does bad things too, but it does do a lot of really good things for small businesses especially. So like, and again, she was so, and not that she wasn't talented, because she's very talented, but I mean, I don't think it's unheard of for y'all to have a hairstylist that you had to book like 2 appointments out. Like 12 weeks in advance, 16 weeks in advance. She had it lined up. Anyway, that was all to say that the only reason I actually got a haircut is because Tova decided that she wanted to buzz her hair. So she had blue hair, and then she was like getting sick of it, I guess, and she decided like it'd be fun to just shave it off. And I'm like, not completely, but just to buzz it down like a number, what do we put her in? A number 3 or number 4? I just shaved it off for her. And she was like, she wished we wanted to do it. And I was like, fine, you're in the 7th grade. Now is the time to do these things. Do it. Go for it. You'll know what your head looks like. If you decide to shave it later, you can. If you don't want to ever again and you think this was a terrible mistake, you've made it when you don't have a job. Good thing. So anyway, that was all to say that she had an appointment that had already been scheduled. So I just asked the stylist if I could take her appointment, and that's the only reason I got a haircut. I have not had a real haircut in quite some time. And it was very apparent. But she took care of me, evened me up, made me look less like a shaggy, shaggy dog. So that was good. But now I need to actually wash my hair. Talking with my face. Okay, so that wasn't even part of what I was going to talk about. But it is a shenanigan, I guess. other shenanigans, oh my gosh. Do you want to hear my stupid house story? They tend to be quite popular. There's stories. It's interesting because there's stories in which I suffer misfortune and I'm often stupid. But whatever. Here's another one. There's no misfortune in this one though. It's okay. So my husband and I the other night, we'd eaten dinner and Tova, I can't remember the first time we heard it, if Tova was downstairs or if she had, well, she wasn't downstairs because she's almost 13. And so by law of biology and teendom, she cannot be near us for more than 40 minutes at a time. They're down the other day. She was downstairs for like 2 hours in a row. And I was like, are your friends all busy? She's like, yeah. I was like, well, thank you for visiting us while your friends were busy. But anyway, I can't remember if it was, but it was after dinner. It was like in that like downtime time of the evening. So we hear, I think he may have been playing a game and so maybe he had headphones on. We were having two different experiences. And I heard this weird noise and I was like, what is that? It was already dark and it was a Sunday night. And it sounded, for the life of me, the best way I could explain it was it sounded like somebody had dropped something heavy. Like it wasn't a real sharp noise, but it was a very like kind of noise. And I was like, what in the world? So the first time I heard it, I thought, well, our neighbor had been outside doing something. And we have raccoons over here. They're always up to something. So I thought, well, maybe they're having their holiday party. It is almost solstice, and raccoons have to travel, I'm sure, for these things. Because raccoons have like huge areas that they travel over, right? So like one of the raccoons over there had to get its horse and buggy and come over here. But anyway, I thought, well, maybe he dropped something or this. I mean, they had like scaffolding up not too long ago. So yeah, they're doing something. He's ambitious. Oh my God. So anyway, here I'm like, okay. And then about, a good interval later, maybe 25 minutes, I'm like, I heard that again. And this time my husband heard it. So I was like, okay, at least I'm not just going crazy. Because you have that thought too. He hears it and he's like, what is that? I'm like, I don't know, but I just heard it. So we're just continuing to hang out. A little bit of time goes by. Like 10, 15 minutes. We hear it again. He gets up. He gets his shoes on. He goes outside with a flashlight to try to see if he can see anything happening. Doesn't see anything. Goes down to the basement. Doesn't see anything. Okay, comes back. Okay, this continues all evening long. Finally, we're like, well, the house is not falling apart yet. So we go to bed. I get up the next morning. He's already gone to work. I've already got Tova to the bus and I hear it again. And I'm only hearing it when I'm in the living room, but it doesn't sound like it's in the living room. In fact, it sounds like it's outside because it feels like it's muffled sounding. I'm like, what the heck is that sound? So I start timing it and it's happening like every 10 to 14 minutes. So after 4 occurrences of said sound, it's of course raining. So I put on my raincoat, go outside. Tova's in the house. I go outside. She had a mental health day. I go outside. I'm standing in the rain. She's like, Mom, what are you doing? I'm like, this noise. We got to figure out what it is. It's driving me crazy. I don't think it's anything terrible. Because my husband had also gone down the next morning into the basement because he thought, well, maybe like one of the little like dormer windows broke or was open or, something was crazy. It was like making a noise. Or like we've had birds that have gotten into the basement or like, who knows, a raccoon might have been really tipsy after that holiday party and somehow wandered in through our entire house and down to our basement. Or, they can actually get through the porch and whatever, like the birds do. I have since gone downstairs to try to see if I can figure out what it is. Like maybe that, like, maybe the canned goods have like grown a crazy like new life form fungus and they're down there banging around or something. I don't know. So I'm standing in the rain. She's like, Mom, what are you doing? I tell her, I'm like, I'm listening for this noise. It's just, she's like, all right, whatever. She's making herself ramen noodles at like 9:30 in the morning. Whatever. She's like, Mom, is the oven on? I'm like, no, it shouldn't be. She's like, it's on really. I'm sorry, the phone is also on because I'm dealing with people, medical people. She's like, is the oven supposed to be on? I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be on. I was like, we turned it off last night after dinner. And she's like, well, it's on like, our oven goes, it's a gas range. It goes down to 200, like on the tick marks. But it had been turned lower than that tick mark, but not completely off. I'm like, oh, yeah, just go ahead and turn it off. Sorry, I left it on all night. As soon as I was like, sorry, I left it on all night, I was like, oh. The stupid noise that had been plaguing us for like, at this point, 14 hours. It's just the oven kicking on. But it's a gas range, so it does kind of make a whoosh noise, like a lower whoosh noise. But I think because it was so, the temperature was set so low, it was happening very sporadically, like, again, like 14, 15 minutes apart. It happened more gradual than the night before because the oven had been on for dinner and it cooled off, but I'm sure the cabinetry around it was warmer and everything, so it wasn't having to kick on as often. And again, maybe because it was down so low, it was making like a weirder noise than normal. Thanks, Tova. She's been batting 1,000 this week. She also figured out our sprayer broke on our sink, like the sprayer that you... And at first I was like, whatever. Like, I don't... It occurred to me later that, thank goodness, she's like, well, I think I'm going to put a piece of duct tape on there. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sounds good. Or I really thought, it's never going to stick. That's not going to work. But I was like, whatever, it's already broken. So, totally worked like a charm. Thank goodness she did it because I had to also give the dogs haircuts and baths this week. And it didn't even occur to me, like, trying to give a dog a bath without that sprayer is infinitely more challenging. Okay, maybe not infinitely more, but substantially more challenging. They needed baths and haircuts. They also needed their toenails trimmed. Oh, Annie is fine. I did cut one of hers in the quick though. I feel so bad when I do that. It just makes me sick. Because I'm like, oh, I feel it so deeply. Sorry, Annie. I don't know what we're going to do with Gus. I think I need to be sedated. I don't know how the groomer trims his toenails. I just don't know how she does it. She's MIA right now. I mean, she's not MIA. She's just like had to cancel and then didn't have an opening. Because she also is scheduled like 12 weeks in advance. If you don't like people, maybe cut dog hairs. I'm just saying. Those jobs can't be outsourced. They require education, but not a $140,000 degree. Just saying, be your own boss. Whatever. Yet another reason that we need healthcare for everybody, so folks can have be their own bosses. Just saying. Anyway, so yeah, that's all. Can you believe it was just the oven kicking on? Of course you can believe it. You're probably thinking that from the very beginning. Hey dummy, did you turn your oven off after you ate dinner the night before? Well, I did-ish. You know what? You gotta find joy in the mundane. Or not. Whatever. Let's talk about it. There's probably something really cool that happened. I can't even remember what it was. That's what I remember. So I actually have been doing spinning. What? Do you know why? Because I got an advent calendar from KnitSpinFarm. So every day you get a little woolly package and something extra. Sometimes it's candy. Sometimes it's a bird feeding thing and instructions on how to make more bird feeding things. Sometimes it's candy. Did I mention candy? Sometimes it's like instructions on how to make fun wall art with a little sample of it. Sometimes it's a cereal story. I'm just saying, and I mean not with a C, but with an S story. It's been highly entertainable. So it's her bat vent. So here is my spindle, or my, what's this thing called? Bobbin. Oh my gosh. I've been having a lot of trouble with that lately. My recall is, like, my word recall is really, like, wonkadoodle. Even more so than normal. We'll talk about maybe why later. So here is, you can't see it because I don't, especially I have the woolly winder bobbin right now. So this is basically just today's. But I have enjoyed it so much. It's just a nice, I'm like, maybe I should just open this to show you. I'm not even going to do it because it's too fun to open it in the morning. But you just get this like little bat that's like about this-ish long, about this-ish thick. It's like the perfect amount to spin. I did miss spinning mine yesterday, but I just caught up today. It was no big deal. So enjoyable. So I'm really enjoying that vent. I've had advent calendars in the past. Like I had a tea one once. I mean, it was fun because it was just cute and cool, but I didn't keep up with it as much. I really like the spinning advent. I'm behind spinning advent. It's awesome. And then I think what I will do is just chain ply everything at the end. It's possible that I'll just spin some white and then ply it together, but I think I'm going to chain ply it. Speaking of advent projects, I did start an advent sock. And look at how cute it is. So these are advent socks. The pattern is a free pattern. What? I'm not even kidding, y'all. Where's that? There. The Advent Socks by Natalie Sheldon, who is Remembrances Pottery. And like, so I even started, and then I was like, ooh, I'm going to even be fancy and go ahead and put my heel in. And I was like, oh, maybe I should try it on. Way too small. I knew that was a risk because I'm a 350-pound lady. I got some pins on me. Like I gotta hold up this body. So usually a 72 stitch sock is what I do. And this was 70 stitches, but I was like, well, it is color work. So it's less stretchy and it's still pretty stretchy, but it's just not, I mean, it's like, it could happen, but my instep was really like, it was like that. So I decided that maybe I would go ahead and save that for next year. But I cannot tell you how much I am in love with these first two stripes. I'm going to marry them. Right? The light speckly background with a semi-solid foreground. I'm thinking it's like my favorite combo ever. Look at those two stripes. Look how cute they are. Dying. Oh my gosh, do you see my fingernail? That A is uneven, sorry. Do you know what I did? Right before my surgery, I was taking a frozen chicken down to the basement because I have a deep freeze downstairs. So thankful. But anyway, I had this little frozen chicken in my hand and I turned around and just, I mean, it wasn't even like I was like, "Grr." I just kind of turned around and smacked my hand into the door frame and like the momentum of that little frozen chicken just totally, I'm like, oh. The nurses at the hospital, because, you know, they check you for any, like, abrasions and stuff before you have surgery so that they can not be legally held liable for them. She was like, you're going to lose that fingernail. And I was like, really? I'm like, what is that going to be like? I don't know. It looks gross, though. It doesn't hurt at all. It barely even hurt when I did it. It hurt way less than the time I stubbed my toe like the day before. Whatever. But so anyway, aren't those cute? What heel did I do and then abandon? I did the Spacious OMG heel by Megan Williams of the Style Zombies. It's a very nice heel to do, indeed. It has its own little gusset involved, yet does not require you to knit into these stitches. So you can just make it its own color, and then this is your normal circumference again. And I really like the way it fits on my foot. I prefer to do it top down because you do a bunch of, if you're doing it top down, you do a bunch of decreases. Like after you turn the heel down here to eat up those extra gussets. So you do a bunch of decreases right there. And if you're going toe up, they're increases. And increases are a little bit less stable than decreases. So if in a sock, I do prefer to do decreases on that heel versus the increases. That, I mean, both are totally viable. I'm just a bit of a beast, and so I do need to try to make my socks as sturdy as possible. Oh my gosh, Gus chewed up his first sock last night. He's chewed up? Chewed up? That is it, right? Chew's not a word. I mean, it is where I'm from, probably. Middle America. He's chewed up like a gajillion pairs of underpants, and I've had to like become good at patching underpants. Okay, when I say bajillion, I mean like, well, 2 pairs of mine, because I caught on pretty quickly, and like a jillion minus 2 of Toba's. Because she does not catch on as quickly. I told her, I said, I'm going to start taking your underpants money out of your allowance, which your working allowance, like your dishes and all that stuff you do. I'm going to start charging you for these underpants that you cannot seem to pick up before Mr. Gustav gets them. Granted, he is a ninja, but come on. Get a system down, sister. Anyway. Okay, so then let's talk about finished objects. Okay. I did not wash these or put them on a blocker. Sort of apologies, but not really. This is yarn from KnitSpinFarm. These, I believe, were seconds from her, which I cannot for the life of me. I think she fibbed. I think she just was giving it, she just wanted an excuse to give it to me. But these are supposed to be seconds of her Corriedale sock, of KnitSpinFarm's Corriedale sock. And this is the colorway Aren't You Gourd to Be a Knitter, which I talked about last week. I think that's what it's called. So, toe up. I did put a little bit of ribbing just on either side. It just makes the sock look smaller, I think, which helps me knit faster. I know I'm not knitting faster. In fact, I'm knitting a little bit slower because there's a few purl stitches. But it just looks less daunting. Is that a thing? I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna have to. Whatever. Love them, dig them, enjoy them ever so much. I have started doing a true afterthought heel, which means like one where you cut it. I used to just be like, that's insane. And I would always put in waste yarn and then go back. But I do like the cutting of the heel. A, it feels very dangerous. B, it's exciting just to be able to knit and not have to worry at all about where your heel's going to be. But C, I like the way it makes the, whatever this area is called. So lots of times when you use an afterthought heel, like a ripcord or whatever, a knit-ins one that you just pull out, you don't just pull it out, you pick out. When you don't cut them. Sometimes when you do that, well, unless you take pains not to have a hole there, you will have a hole there. And even sometimes when you do take pains to not have a hole there, you still get a hole there. I mean, I don't mean like a dangerous, like a hole that's going to keep growing, but a little bit of an open area, which is sometimes what we call a hole, but less scary. But when you cut them, you can leave like the last few stitches on either side. What I do is I cut it in the middle and then unravel it till there's about 2 stitches on either side that have not been, like the yarn between the two has not been undone. And then just start knitting my heel, and so that makes it not ever have a opening on the edges. So, and I'm not the person who invented that, FYIs, but I'm not sure who did. Oh my gosh, Gus, really? I apologize. This is the season of delivery drivers and birds. There's birds over here and delivery drivers over there, and Gus just is beside himself. Yes. He can't take it. So there's a pair of socks I finished, which I'm pretty excited about. I also finished, oh my gosh, I'm like an advertiser for KnitSpinFarm. How weird am I? Not weird at all. She's amazing. I finished my Cowl. So this is the Foolproof Cowl by Louise Zass-Bangham. I don't even know if that's remotely the correct thing. I just pulled it out of the archives here. So let me just, I mean, you'd think I've said it like 75 million times. You'd think it would be in my brain pretty solidly. So yes, that was the correct information. I just couldn't find it and needed to verify. Anyway. So this is a handspun one. So one of the plies is from batlings or little bitty bats that I bought from KnitSpinFarm. And then the white ply, or the natural cream ply, I am ready for winter, y'all, is from Tunis from Tarheelbilly farm. By the way, she has just a little bit of yarn and fiber in her shop. Get it now. It's probably already gone. I checked a while ago. Oh, yes. See, isn't that lovely? It's just super subtle. These batlings were all very closely pinky gray-y together in love. So it's very subtle. If you do a handspun that has either chain plied or has more variation in it, you will get the diagonal motif. Here, you can see it a bit better on this end. It's got some darker bits. You'll get that showing up more strongly. But I just love this pattern for handspun. In theory, you start with a triangle, like you're making a shawl, and then you knit one side, and then you knit the other side, and then you make another triangle. So in theory, if you're doing handspun, you just weigh after your first triangle, add a little bit, because if you're like me, your handspun's not that even. So then you just knit till you get about that much left, and then you can just, you can use up all your yarn. I had like, I mean, there might be 10 yards left, you know, so you use up all your yarn, and yet it's super fun and fluffy, right? So this is not, this is probably like 6-ish ounces. I didn't weigh it, but I think the batlings were like 3. I love it. I don't know if you can tell. Totally into it. So there's that. Yes, I had my hair done. And then, even though I was finished with this, I had not woven in ends or blocked it. Are you ready? Whoa, blocking did this such a service. So this is my Trelawney shawl, and that is by Tyne Swedish, who is local to me because I'm so fancy here in Indianapolis. The purpley color that's up here next to my nose is Madelinetosh Wicked, and then the beautiful contrasty color is another Crafty Girls Silk blend sock. Oh, shiny sock. Thanks. In the all-knowing colorway. And boy, it is just so drapey. I got it, so to block it, I just washed it in my Tuft Woolen soap because, hi. And then I have a gull wing dryer, which is like a drying rack that folds down, but it opens up and it has like wings on either side. So it's a super handy and convenient dryer. But it's basically like, if you looked at it from up top, it would be like a rectangle with rounded corners. And so I just use I wash my shawl, squeeze out a good amount of water. Apparently I leave in stitch markers because that's fun. Locking stitch markers, don't worry. Squeeze out as much water as I possibly can. And then I just pin it around like if you are the dryer, the drying rack. I just put it up next to you and then I put a pin on it, a clothespin, and then I put a clothespin over here, and then I put, you know what I mean? So it's super easy way to dry. It dries super fast because it's just hanging and not like on those mats. And it's my preferred way to dry anything that has a lot of garter stitch in it, because I don't like my garter stitch pulled super tight unless there's a lot of lace in it or something. Because I just like it to be still kind of gartery. And you can see this one still maintains its texture really nicely, but at the same time opens it up, gives it that you know, very flowy feel that you could either, you know, it's so squishy, you could just wear it as a scarf and just be super fancy. You just hit a little pin right here now. But you know what I mean? Like it just does whatever you want it to. If you want to open it up and wear it like a triangle shawl, you can, but you can also smush it up and just wrap it around your neck and be a fancy lady. No, you can't see it because my hair's in the way. Sorry. Oh gosh, hair. It's being really ridiculous. Thinks it's the star now. I talked about getting a haircut. So anyway, they turned out lovely. Tyne has lots of other patterns coming out that are Harry Potter inspired, so yay. Okay, now I only have 2 works in progress, but let's talk about them. I have like 14 sweaters I need to knit. For some reason I cast on that beautiful sweater by Knitting Expat, and I have like this much of it done, and I just don't think I have the bandwidth right now. I mean, I have several sweaters in mind that I would like to make, but either I haven't gathered enough momentum to get the project started, or I don't know, I feel like I'm going to be in an accessories mode for a little while, and maybe I'll figure out how to start a sweater. But accessories feels good right now. So my first work in progress, I purchased this year's West Yorkshire Spinners holiday yarn. I knit one. I did not knit last year's color because last year's was like the fairy lights. I had knit last year. I knit the year before's color. Does that make sense? Which was like a traditional red and green. But this, and I really like those socks. I've really enjoyed wearing them. So when they came out this one this year, and it's like Robin inspired. I don't think I see it on here, but I'm pretty sure that it was Robin. We're just gonna go with that. So anyway, so they had it at the Woolly Thistle. I caved. I purchased it, and I'm pleased that I did so. Here's my sock so far. Whoops. Double points. Sometimes you just gotta mix it up. Oh, right, isn't it super cute? So you can see like, hey, what's going on in here? Because I don't, on these kinds, like Opal and this West Yorkshire, unless it's a hand-dyed stripe, unless I've spent more than $25 on it, I do a traditional heel gusset. Now, again, I really actually like the way Afterthought heels fit. Don't get me wrong. But I do like the way a heel flap fits too. A traditional heel flap with gusset. So, that's what these get. I'm really enjoying them. I'm looking forward to wearing them. They're super cute and pleasant, and they make me happy. And I really love knitting this little cream stripe when it comes around. I got a weird hankering for off-white yarn lately. I don't know what that's about. I usually am not at all interested in that, but it's getting me. I'm going to be making a white hat in a minute. I actually am. I have it set aside. It's like the next thing I want to cast on. It's not entirely white. It's a speckle. Just out of control. And then the last thing I'm working on. My daughter has requested a shawl. Well, like a scarfy shawl, like a narrow shawl. And so she loves fluffy things. Oh my gosh. She totally started knitting. I don't even want to tell everybody because I don't want to jinx it. She went gangbusters for like 3 or 4 days, and now she's really pulled back. But you know, she's almost 13. Come on. It waxes, it wanes, it waxes, it wanes. But she has a mind that's like mine when it goes like this. So I think it'd be really helpful for her. Wow, we're having snowflakes. Sorry, I just got distracted. Gus is totally watching the snow. It's not really snowing. It's just like occasional snowflakes. So she's knitting a scarf for a friend, and it's really cute. Okay, so she is at the age where she loves to do anything independently, right? And so she has several friends, and one of them lives in a neighborhood in our city that is, it's actually not a college town, but it has kind of that more artsy, collegey kind of feel to it. And there are lots of shops that are very convenient to pedestrian to. And this girl lives very close to that center of town, of that little neighborhood. And so they had all stayed over or met up or something, whatever. It sounds like I don't know where my child was. I did, but I don't know how the other children showed up. But whatever. So they had like a day about town, which is very cute. And they went to the yarn store because one of the young women knits. And so they stopped into Broad Ripple Knits, and they said that, or Tova said, that they were super friendly and really positive and very encouraging. And, cause there were like 4 of them. So, I mean, you know, some stores would have been like, oh, get out of here, you young people. But instead, I don't know if it was the owner who was there that day or if it was a clerk or what have you, but was very positive and welcoming. And Tova picked out yarn because she decided that she was going to learn to make a scarf for her other friend. And so, of course, I was instantly like, what did you get? She's like, you're not going to like it. She bought like some sort of like faux fur yarn, which is totally man-made materials out the wazoo. But it does feel amazing. It feels so soft and fuzzy. It's like a plush animal. It's like a stuffy. It's really crazy. But, so she bought 3 skeins of that. And of course she knew there were needles at home. But then the shop owner, or the clerk, I'm assuming it's the owner, totally gave her and I think another of her friends some practice yarn to work on, which was nice quality wool. I think it had lost its ball band, and so maybe, you know, it was kind of like, again, just lying around for folks who might need some help or, you know, need a little practice in the shop or what have you. But she totally gave her like a 50-gram ball of yarn to practice on. So cute. I tried not to be too excited. So her friend who does knit kind of taught them. I mean, Tova has been taught how to knit like a long time ago. So I do believe that muscle memory kind of stays in there. But then her friend kind of also taught her. And her friend knits. Yeah, her friend does knit English. And I knit continental. And anyway, it was just really cute. Since they like practiced in the coffee shop with coffee stirrers as knitting needles. That's sweet. So she just did a little practice. I mean, I showed her, I kind of refreshed her memory again. And then she just kind of took off. She did really well. I was surprised. Knitting is not super easy. So I was totally surprised that she just kind of like picked it right back up again. So cute. Anyway, that was all to say that she asked for a shawl. And she loves super soft stuff. That's where I was going with all that yarn talk. So they had Cascade Yarns Aereo, or Aereo, sorry, at Mass Ave Knits, which is my closest yarn store. It's 47% merino, 30% alpaca, 22% nylon. It's one of these blown yarns. I think that's what we're calling them. Is that right? They knit like a tube with the nylon, like an I-cord tube, and then they just force the fibers into it. So, for example, this is an Aran weight yarn. Yeah, because the gauge, the suggested gauge is 4 stitches to the inch. But 100 grams has 240 yards. So you get a lot of, it's very light. And theoretically quite warm because it has the alpaca in it. And it's very soft. and very fuzzy. Anyway, I've been wanting to knit with some of this because just one of these blown yarns in general, because I had not had the chance to do so yet. And I actually haven't knit with this yet, but exercises and futility. So it does not have, because the main structure of it is that outer core, it doesn't have as much elasticity. And some people say it doesn't have as much memory because you're not using the wool. So I would imagine it doesn't have, the wool is not being utilized as it would be in a spun yarn. But accessories, hi. So then I decided to cast on the Ravenhill shawl, which is an Aran, it's written for Aran or DK weight, by Tamy Gore. And it's one of these, dudes. Come try it. There's gonna be like 3 of you out there who are like, I know what that was from. We're big nerds here. Okay, so now the Foolproof shawl comes. Now that it's right there. It was not there before. Anyway. So that's what it looks like. So in mine, that textury area will be the dark gray. And then for the other area, I have, remember how I told you last time that somebody sent me, oh my gosh, I forgot to say that. Somebody sent me a beautiful box of yarn. And then I had said, when I was saying thank yous about so many lovely gifts, I said that I was going to send out thank you cards like the next week or something. I went to send out thank you cards on 2 other beautiful gifts that I received of fiber, and realized that one of them was another situation where they had sent it from like a UPS store, so there was no return address. And then the other one, it was priority mail, and I had ripped the return address off. Guess what? I did not rip the return address off. I ripped my address off. So I threw away the box. Kept my own address, just in case I forgot. Just kept that for me. So I'm sorry if you did not get a thank you card from me. I did try. I said thank yous. Thank you so much. But thank you. Janet sent me many things, but one of them is this skein of skinny singles from Hedgehog fibers. And this is her color Raku. And so I am holding that doubled with some mohair silk from Valley Yarns. This is the Southampton yarn, which is 72% kid mohair, 28% mulberry silk. So I'm doing 2 strands of this with a strand of this to be Aran to / bulky to match the Aereo. And here is what I have so far. What's that sort of thing? Bazam. So it's the banana hammock shape is what we should now call it. I'm sure other people have called it that too. But it's just starting out with these triangle, and it's really fun. Wow! So these are all Tova approved yarn choices. So we're going for fuzzy and mostly back with just a little bit something. This is my stitch marker from Melia Bella. It's a little apple cider donut. Isn't it cute? So yeah, the only thing I'm doing differently so far on the shawl is that it has a center double decrease, and I'm just doing an SS can and knit 2 together on either side of a middle stitch. Because to do a center double decrease, you have to keep moving a stitch marker, and I'm just not there. Period. But anyway, so I'm really enjoying the texture of it and these colors popping. It's really fun. So yeah, that's all I have gotten so far. But hopefully that will be a Yule, or Christmas present, or birthday, or Tuesday. That's all my knitting and spinning, y'all. Sorry, that was a very disjointed. Like I'm pretending like it's not always disjointed. I heard you. I heard you back there. So, if you would like to check out now, I will totally see you next time. Oofda. There will be, cats and housecoats. So if you missed the cats and housecoats bag update and you are sad, I'm going to have another one in January. And I can't remember the date, but it's the first January, or the first January in January. It's that. It's the first Friday in January. At 9 p.m. Eastern. I will do a traditional pre-order. So last time what I did is I got the fabric in-house, I cut everything, and then I put the listings up. So usually for that I just need like, what is happening? So for that one I only need a few weeks for a turnaround time. But this one, since it will be a full pre-order where I'm going to order fabric and everything, it'll be the 4 to 6 weeks. I really try for 4, but 4 to 6 weeks. And so, let me see what date that's going to be. January 3rd at 9 p.m. So it's the first Friday in January of the new year, 2020. I'll be doing that. Okay, but now you can leave, because now I'm going to talk about health shenanigans. I just want to insert this here before I start to say what's going on with my health stuff. I so appreciate that everybody has their own experience with these things. And I am happy to say what's going on with me. I do want to just set a few really basic ground rules. I'm talking about health stuff and like, I'm not offering any advice as to what you or your medical practitioner should do in any situation. B, it can be very overwhelming to me as one human when, you know, sometimes up to like 10,000 people, or maybe it's just one of you watching 10,000 times. I'm not sure. Maybe it's 10 of you watching 1,000 times. Whatever. However many of you are getting this, you've all had different experiences, right? Like and you've all had sisters and aunts and grandmothers and nieces and who've had different experiences. So that can get very overwhelming to me. I so appreciate that you want to share. And when we're having coffee one day, you go for it. But right now, since I'm kind of in the middle of some stuff, I would really appreciate any sort of good news, but no bad news. So please don't tell me about a family member who had something similar and then was lost, or had a really terrible experience. Just for my own mental well-being, I would like to just, I mean, I know you know, and I know you know, but there's like one person who doesn't realize, probably because they're really in the thick of something right now and they don't have anybody to talk to and they just need to like let it out, and I completely understand, but I can't be that person. So those are my ground rules. All right, now I'll go put this story back on. Okay, so here is like an abbreviated version of what's going on. When they did my hysterectomy, the reason I had a hysterectomy is that I had what is technically called a giant complex ovarian cyst. I had a very big thing on my ovary. And I'm like using my hands like this, and that's not an exaggeration. It's actually kind of undersized. So okay, so this is what's going on with me in a nutshell. I'm feeling pretty darn good. I'm 3 weeks and 2 days. Yeah, I'm 3 weeks and 2 days outside of my surgery date. I'm up and about and being very careful not to lift too much. But I have I'm actually having very lucky. I'm having lots of folks warned me about fatigue. Like they kindly warned me about fatigue, like in that caring way where you're like, just make sure you take enough time because you might be really, really tired. But luckily I have not experienced that. Yeah, everything's going really well. My incisions are all healing well. I say all, that's foreshadowing. But generally I feel like really good. I'm taking things very easy. But here's what's going on. I went in to have a total abdominal hysterectomy because I had what's called the technical name for it is giant complex ovarian cyst. So fluidic ovarian cysts are very normal. They often ebb and flow throughout your cycle. Sometimes you need to have medication if they won't go away by themselves. But generally they kind of just take care of themselves in that wonderful, beautiful way your body does. But this one, it actually had mass to it. So it needed to be taken out. Pretty routine surgery. Unfortunately, during the surgery, they biopsied that and it had cancer in it. So what is routine in that procedure is my surgeon consulted the on-call OB oncologist, and she was actually doing a procedure on another human being. And so she consulted with the general surgeon, who they've worked together before, and they were both super lovely, by the way. But she consulted with him, and the general kind of standard procedure with my specific health situation, which is overall quite good, and the kind of cancer that was found, and all of that is that you just take all of your reproductive organs. The other ovary was looking a little dodgy, apparently. So you take that, take the appendix, and you take your omentum, which is like this kind of curtain of like fat and lymphatic tissues and things like that, that kind of covers your stomach and your intestine. And the reason they do that is because A, you don't need either of those things. And B, they tend to be a place where if cancer is moving from your GI system into your reproductive system, it's going to show up there. So they took those, the frozen sections of those looked fine, but of course they needed to do a further pathology on those after surgery. And that was kind of what I was waiting for the last time we talked. So that means when I woke up, my surgery was at 10. It was supposed to take like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I woke up at 4:30 and had a different incision, an extra incision. So I have like both of a typical hysterectomy incision, which is a horizontal one, and then I have a vertical one that's like from my belly button up to maybe like 3 inches below my bra line. So I was like, what? So then I found out what happened and everything. So I spoke with the oncologist. The cancer, luckily, further pathology, no more cancer in anything that they pulled out. So that's the really good news. The kind of questionable news is that the cancer that they found in my ovary, they do a special process of stains and what have you, and it's not ovarian cancer, it's a GI cancer. So it's a gastrointestinal cancer. So normal procedure in that case is that I am now scheduled for a CT scan and an upper lower GI with a special sonogram of my, is it sonogram? Whatever, the sound one. It's an EUS is what it's called. Ultrasound. Are those the same thing? Whatever. They're going to use sound waves to check on my pancreas. So luckily, oh my gosh, so thankful. I was able to get all of that scheduled before the end of the year. So it's a colonoscopy for Christmas. You'll be seeing that on Hallmark next year. So that's what we hope. But, so yeah, it's super scary. It's not super scary, but it is scary. So I'm trying to be positive for my own well-being and also for my family's well-being, but mostly for my own well-being. So that's scary, but I also feel really good. I'm in very good health I was about to say for a fat lady, but I'm in very good health. I'm in very good health. I feel good. I don't have any other like long-term issues or anything like that are going to battle with this. So keeping lots of positive energy going, and we'll see what happens, and we'll just kind of go from there. But at least for now, I feel really good. So, yeah. So, yeah, you know, I know it's awkward, right? Like, if we were having coffee, I would have no trouble telling you that, but it's kind of weird to tell a lot of you that all at once. But at the same time, I know that I would be super curious about Leslie if something was going on with her on the Knit Girls, or, you know, what have you. So I completely understand, and I would want to know, because again, I've kind of invited you into lots of aspects of my life. And certainly some aspects will remain private, you know, no matter what. But this one is kind of, you know, it's in that gray area. So I feel good. Hopefully you have an awesome solstice. That was me pausing because I'm trying to think when I'm going to record next. But if I don't talk to you before solstice, I hope you have an awesome solstice. But I will talk to you in some way. It just might be a bonus episode, which is like less conversation and more like that. Anyway. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.